Welcome back to the Observe Day podcast, where we'll find meaning in the stories behind our days and the holidays we celebrate. Since it's National Read a New Book Month, we're diving into a book that is more than just words on a page. It's a lived experiment in connection, vulnerability, and self discovery. My guest today is Melinda Lee, the author of Rebel Hogger. Melinda is an adventurous soul, an energy healing practitioner, and a coach who helps people move past self doubt and people pleasing. Her memoir is a love letter to humanity, recounting her journey of hugging strangers for a year, only to discover that the deepest connection she needed was with herself. Today, we'll talk about the courage it takes to step outside the comfort zone, the surprising kindness of strangers, and what it really means to belong. Thank you and welcome, Melinda.
Thank you so much, Wisdom. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, since we're celebrating Read a New Book Month, let's start here. Um, why should Rebel Hogger be someone's new read this month?
That's a great question because there's so many great books out there. I'm such
Yeah,
a I love books so much myself.
yeah,
What I would say is that the reason people should choose Rebel Hugger is because it does dive deep into the depths of humanity. So on the surface, it has this, I'm talking about hugs, which is such a feel good emotion, a feel good expression of love. But the story behind all of these thousands of people that I hugged led me to discover the deeper truth of the love that I wasn't giving myself. And I feel in our society, so many people are just looking to try to find safety or belonging in the cultures that we're living in. And in order to do that, are leaving themselves behind and not choosing to love themselves. And so this is a really great validation of the story of not loving yourself, and also a guide map to back to how you can find that again.
yeah. I like the fact when you said hugging strangers helped me realize that what I've been looking for was in myself. And it's about the lyrics of a song that, oh, I just realized that the life I'd been searching for was already my own.
Yes.
Yeah. What first inspired you to begin hugging strangers?
Loneliness.
Oh,
I yeah, I had moved um, thousands of miles away from my family, and I didn't know anybody in this new state that I was in the United States, and I was just really longing for the connection that I'd had with my um, mom and dad and cousins and friends that I'd grown up with. And I thought if I was feeling that lonely, that other people might be feeling lonely too. And
yeah,
that could be a great way to not only fill the connection for myself, but for others as well.
yeah. Wow. And when did you realize that it was worth writing a book about?
When I finished the Year of Hugs, I had a lot of people asking me to write a book about it because I had
Oh,
been blogging about it that year.
okay.
And I kept saying no. And that was because I found myself really depressed when it was over. Instead of feeling really uplifted, I was just
Yeah,
really depressed because I hadn't quite yet realized that as soon as the hugging was over, I was left to my own loneliness again because I still
yeah,
hadn't loved myself. So it took a lot of years before I got to the point where I discovered my own self love. And at that point is where I was like, oh, this is worth writing about.
yeah. What I can take away from what you just said so far is that you hugged a lot of persons, but you
Mhm.
forgot to hug yourself.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. How does this your own story challenge the way most of us think about connection and belonging?
I think that a couple of different ways. One is that, we think that the connection comes from it comes externally, like we have to get it from someone else or somewhere else, and that there's no way that we could possibly feel that connection and that belonging if we're only giving love to ourselves and we're only doing it for ourselves. But I think that the connection begins with ourselves, and it can't only be done with ourselves. So it begins with ourselves, but it requires the others as well.
Yeah. I think there's a statement I always like. They're like, oh, you should respect yourself, right? Usually, it depends on the context. But if if we're having, okay, maybe I don't know if how they say it over there, but if we're having a banter, right, we're both exchanging words, and like, and you're like, oh yeah, what do you do? And I look at you sternly, and I say, Melinda, respect yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's a I'm telling you, like, I'm like, behave, right? Compose
Yeah.
yourself. And and for me, it takes back to the whole idea that for someone to really love someone, for someone to respect someone, they have to love themselves and they have to respect themselves. Because how can you give what you do not have?
Absolutely. That's exactly right, and you have to give from the overflow, right? It's that whole, you have to fill your cup first. Well, I am of the belief that you not only have to fill your cup, but then you don't give from a full cup, you give from the overflow of that cup.
Yeah, yeah. And it's the reason why a lot of persons feel empty despite being surrounded by a lot of persons, because they're hoping to find it out there.
Right, and and that's exactly what I was doing when I was hugging all of these strangers. Like, let me find it out there. Let me go out there because it's somewhere out there. And that search never ends because it's not there.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Still on the subject of hugging strangers, what was the most
Yeah.
surprising reaction you ever received to someone you hugged?
There were so many great reactions that had me feeling so many different ways. But probably one of the reactions that touched me the most was when I hugged this person, and I always asked for the hug first. It was always, I wanted to respect boundaries.
Yeah, of
And
course.
this person was willing to hug me, and I gave her a great hug. And as I was walking away from her, I overheard her say to somebody next to her, "Wow, that's the first hug I've gotten in a long time." And
Wow.
it made me understand the importance of what I was doing, and it just broke my heart, but then also filled my heart that I could be that for her, and that really moved me.
Yeah. Right now I'm thinking, I'm like, did you get that on video?
I did not. I didn't document other than blogging, I didn't document that journey at all because I didn't even tell the people I was hugging that I was doing this experiment, that I was doing this
Yeah.
journey of hugging strangers, because I wanted that moment to be a pure expression of love and appreciation. And I didn't want them feeling like I was only doing it because of this journey that I was on, because that wasn't true.
Oh, ooh, that's a thin line. That's a thin line.
Yes. Yes,
How
it
do we
is.
know that's we? Because then I'm like, okay, what about the people? Like, it would be nice for people to, I feel like when you watch other people getting or giving a hug, sometimes we feel like we too were receiving a digital hug. But then
Yeah.
how do we make sure that it's not because we want to make a video and we want to go super viral and we want to make it all about us and not about them? And I'm like, I mean, that's a tricky. The water is muddy.
Ye yeah.
uh,
I and I thought about that a lot as I was going through, the journeys, because there is an element that, I have the potential for depriving other people of getting to witness this that could lift them up too, right?
yeah,
And the conclusion that I came to for my own personal self is that there are people that are out there doing it publicly. I was not meant to be that person. I was meant to be that
yeah,
person to do it privately and to just have those moments with those very specific individuals that now, years later, here I am able to write about it so I can still touch people's lives, just not in the way
yeah,
that they get to see it.
yeah. Wow, wow. Ooh, that's such a frame of reference. Do you think there is the possibility that in the future you would do the hug challenge again?
So I did do a second hug challenge.
Ah, okay.
I went across the country right before I wrote the book. I drove across country and stayed with the people that I was hugging. Half of them were strangers to me, and half of them I knew. And that one I documented a little bit more because it was more in depth. They already knew what I was doing and why I was at their
Yeah.
house. So that one was a little bit more public. And yeah, I've definitely thought about, the possibility of maybe there's a couple more in me and who knows what they look like.
Yeah. During the challenge, did you ever have moments where you felt unsafe or thought about stopping the project?
I never thought about stopping the project.
Okay.
But there were definitely moments that I did feel unsafe and I had to learn, and really that it these moments of unsafety, I was never in bodily harm
Okay.
that I felt like I was in immense danger.
Okay.
What I did recognize is that those moments where I felt unsafe were moments that I needed to learn what it was to create boundaries for myself. Because here I was
Mm,
asking them for hugs because I understood that they needed boundaries, but my own boundaries were very loose. And I really needed to
yeah.
learn that lesson.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm glad that the challenge went well, because one of the questions I was thinking in my head was like, it's when you're reaching out to hug people. Oh, okay. I'm like, yeah. You talked about moving from people pleasing to self acceptance. What role did this journey play in that transformation? I know in the beginning we talked about, oh yeah, this was what happened. But like, how did this transformation happen? Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind the scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
That really came down to all of the lessons that I learned on the cross country journey that I was on, and, discovering the places where my boundaries were really loose and watching the way that other people were relating to themselves, because it was just when you travel, you just get a chance to see the different ways that other people live their lives and the other ways that they relate to each other, and you get to see a different perspective other than the immediate one that's in your own personal community or your
Yeah,
families, and it really opens your mind to new ways that you can be. And it really opened my eyes to ways that I could, honor myself more because I saw how other people were honoring themselves better than I was
yeah.
doing.
Yeah. Wow. You see, the thing about hogs is I don't know, but we're just going to put it out there. What do you think is okay? I don't want to ask the question to in a scholarly way. I want to ask it in in a simple term.
Yeah.
If you go to the very beginning, understanding concepts and understanding traditions and understanding social norms and all the things that are done in society, it's very important to understand what was the first instance of this and why did we do it in the first place. That way we understand, okay, this is where it started from and this is why people do it. Rather than say, oh yeah, that's why we always do it. And then we're like, oh yeah, it's always nice. I'm like, why did we do it in the first place? For hugging itself,
Yeah.
what does it symbolize? And why did we do it like back, way back in time?
Oh, that's a really great question. I love that question. Um, and I love to think about the origins of things too. So that's why I
Yeah.
love that question so much. But I think that it all comes down to the fact that we are biologically wired as social creatures. So, and that's where I was saying, the self love is great, but we can't go through life only just having the self love. We need to have the validation and the experiences of being in relation with other people because that's how we're wired. And so I think that the hugs was a natural, um may have been this, I have no idea because I haven't researched this, but
Yeah.
it may have been this opportunity to, um, speak and have conversation without words. So this loving touch says so much without words. It can say, I love you. It can say, I missed you. It can say, I'm proud of you. It can say, I'm so happy you're here with me. Like it just can say so many different things without words. So maybe before we had the language, or maybe as we were moving from as our adventurers were traveling themselves to discover other tribes, maybe it was a way of creating a communication when they didn't have language.
Yeah.
It's
Now
just a
I'm just going to
idea.
put my own crazy idea out there.
Yeah, please, I'd love to hear it.
I think the thing about, it's always important that we go back in time, like we're biological beings, right? Even before
Mhm,
the social construct and all those things.
mhm.
The act of hugging itself is a great act of vulnerability because if I hug you, I can drive a sword straight to your heart.
You're absolutely right.
And so
You're
it's a level of trust and openness where I'm like, I allow you to come really close to me. And that's for me, I don't know anything that can be more than that in terms of that it's close to that in terms of vulnerability. Because like that, I mean, right now in this day and age, people don't really do that, right? I mean, that's not really a problem. But biologically, that's scary.
Yeah. You're at it's like, the dogs, right, rolling over to let their bellies be rubbed. Very
Yeah.
vulnerable, very,
Yeah. Yeah. You see what I'm
trusting,
talking
and
about?
yeah, I
Yeah.
do. Yep,
Yeah.
I can see that for
It's
sure.
still on the subject of vulnerability, openness, trusting people, and also letting go. And I'm just like a crazy idea. There are no facts. This is just my opinion. And I'll be curious to see what the data, the statistics, and the research says about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you mean about the vulnerability piece of the hugs?
About hug, like about like hugging in the first place. Like, why did we even create that tradition in the first place, right? And it's been passed
Yeah.
age to age, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
totally you know that I'm gonna be going down a deep dive down the rabbit hole on this after the
Yeah,
podcast.
let me know what you find. Let me know
I
what you find
will.
because I know some. I've heard one about toasting in when you're drinking, when you clink the glasses, right? They're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, some of the portion of the drink would cross over each other, and so if it was poisoned, it would be transferred, something like that, right? I always love
Oh,
that concept, right? And so some other
yeah.
social traditions that we have in society, you
Yeah.
when you realize, oh, why they did it in the first place, you're like, oh yeah, I never believed that was the reason why.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think, like, I can see where this vulnerability piece that you're talking about is definitely valid because, what a great way to show friend or foe, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're going to open up to each other and like you're saying you have to have that trust, well, it's the same in relationship, right? Like as we're getting into relationships with people, and as we're opening up vulnerability, we're doing it with the knowledge that we're opening up to the possibility that we're going to be hurt, but we're willing to
Yeah,
do it anyway for the sake of that connection.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I mean, I've had my own fair share of movies where the characters, most of my favorite characters get killed from a hug, right?
Yeah.
They hug their probably a nephew, their brother, and in the
Yeah.
process, straight up a spear. What's the word? A knife. They're like, yeah, and it's like, and then they look at the face. Oh, that's Julius Caesar. How did Julius
Yeah.
Caesar die? Isn't that how Julius Caesar was killed? I'm not sure, but I think he was stabbed. Yeah, and it was like Brutus, oh Brutus, right? You read Julius Caesar?
Which one?
Julius Caesar,
What was
Julius
that?
Caesar. Have you read Julius
Which
Caesar
one?
by William Shakespeare?
Oh, yes. I'm familiar with the story. Yep.
Yeah, the play. Yeah, that's what. And I remember
Yep.
there was a time when he said Brutus, oh Brutus, right?
Yes. Yes.
It was that
Et
moment
tu,
where like
Brutus. Yep.
yeah, it too. And
Yeah.
you, Brutus, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Was Julius Caesar stabbed or was he poisoned? I'm not so sure, but I remember that statement. Like it's that look when you're like, even you too, I trusted you.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Ah,
e the thing is, when you think about it from that perspective, like, that's so many people would ask me, like, "Aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid for your safety? Aren't you afraid?" Kinda like the same thing, I'm opening myself up to all of these people, which means that I'm opening myself up to the possibility of harm.
yeah,
And the thing was, one of the things that was really important to me to do this is because I truly believe that 99% of human beings are good, kind, loving human beings.
yeah,
And if when they harm others, it's because they're hurting themselves. And so I just was putting so much trust in my fellow humans and in humanity in general. And I was like, I don't believe that I will be harmed because I'm putting this love out there
Yeah.
for them to receive. And maybe it's the first love they've received, like that woman said, in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, handshake is a form of physical contact. But
Mhm.
if we were to say physical touch was a form of expressing love, right? And
Mhm.
it's now I'm just thinking about it right now in the podcast episode, and I'm like, hugging is like the largest amount of surface area of touch. Okay, so let me scrap the
Yep.
word surface area. So so everybody understand what I'm saying. Like in terms of physical touch, the amount of touch you can give to someone. Like
Yeah.
hugging is like the highest, right?
Yeah.
Handshake is just your hands, but with hugging, you wrap your hands around them. Yeah, that's true. You're more like there's a lot of surface area. That's just what I would say because there's a lot of yeah, especially when it's a deep hug. You're like yeah, and then you
Yeah.
whisper in their ear something like that.
Right.
uh,
It's yeah.
we've been talking about hugs, and we've also been talking about books. And at the beginning, you did recommend a book to us. Sometimes when I read books, I feel like these books they give me they stretch forth and they just give me a hug. It's
Mm.
not about the facts. It's just that after reading the book, I feel like my well, would I say spirit or soul? I don't know. I
Yeah.
was hugged. I don't know if you've
Yes.
had that feeling before, but it's not necessarily about the story being interesting. The fact that someone just touched your heart.
Yes. Yeah, I love those kind of books. That's actually why my favorite genre is memoir, because I often feel that way after reading a memoir because I'm
Yeah.
reading somebody else's humanity and it's relatable and yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And now we've talked about hug, and then you went on to write about hugging, and you wrote a book, Rebel Hug. Um, what's the biggest lesson about connection you hope readers will take from your book?
Really, it's a combination of all of the things that we've already talked about, that connection is true connection is about loving yourself first, being open to vulnerability, and really being open to everything that life has to offer. Because if we are closed down in any way in our heart, or in our physical space, that connection just isn't possible because there's no openness to it.
Yeah, yeah. It's been over while we're talking about the hug challenge, we didn't really talk about the time. When did you do this challenge?
So the first my year of hugs was in 2011, 2012,
Okay.
and the cross country journey was in 2019, just months before the pandemic happened.
Oh,
So
okay.
it felt very much like divine timing because a couple of months later and I would not have been able to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Especially at the time, like the social distancing and all that.
Right. There was no
Yeah,
hugs to be had then.
yeah. Handshake was out of the question, let alone hugs. And that's the thing
Right.
about hugs too, right? If I'm going to hug you in such a time, I trust that you don't even have disease to give to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is why the
There's a big trust.
boundaries. Yes,
Yeah.
it is a very big trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you continue to practice what you've learned? Do hugs still play a big role in your life, in your everyday life?
Not as much as they did when I was out there hugging everybody I encountered. That was really not sustainable because that's a lot of energy to have to do every day.
A lot of boundaries. Yeah, like I'm like
Yes.
my social boundaries. I'm like I feel like I'm going to be attacked, and the brain's like, no, it's just a hug. That's going to happen.
Right. It's exhausting.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
But it has brought me to this place where I have a job that allows me to welcome people into our business in a very vulnerable, very warm, very loving kind of way. And that's kind of the role that I've taken on. And I feel like it's even though I'm not always hugging everybody that's walking through the door, the energy that I've learned through hugging people and finding that connection absolutely informs what I'm doing in my job now.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Melinda.
Thank you so much, Wisdom. This is a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because we're doing audio only, but the conversation just feel relaxed. No pressure.
Yeah, yeah, it really
Okay.
does.
Okay, I did prepare a couple of questions for the lightning round. You ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Okay, it's a lightning round. I just have to say that again.
Yeah.
It's meant to be fast. So when you
Okay.
give the response, don't feel like you start explaining to me and I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready.
The most unexpected place you've given a hug.
I feel so much pressure. The most
Ah,
unexpected at a waste disposal site.
okay. What is a book you would hug if you could?
Untamed by Glennon Doyle.
Okay. What's the best comfort food after a long day?
Ooh, homemade macaroni and cheese.
What's a song that always lifts your energy?
You're Perfect by Pink.
If hugs had a flavor, what would it be?
Creamy, caramelly, warm.
I was expecting more. Is your the name of a flavor? Okay, you sure
It's
about that?
not. Warm
I didn't understand
caramel.
what you just said.
Warm caramel. That's how I would say it.
Okay.
Warm caramel.
Okay, I guess I'll have to taste that. Finish this sentence. Connection feels like
There are no words. It's beyond words.
are you completing the sentence, or you're telling me that there are no words to complete the sentence?
Both. Yes. That's the answer, and there is no answer. There's
Okay.
some things are
Okay.
just beyond words.
Thank you so much. You did really, really well for the lightning round.
It didn't feel like it, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. Where can listeners learn more about the work you do and connect with you?
They can go to my website, which is Melinda Lee Schmidt, and the Schmidt is SCHMITT.com.
Yeah. Okay. Melinda Lee Schmidt. Be sure to put the link in the description and the show notes so listeners can just click and go directly to the sites mentioned. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute delight to chat with you.
It's been wonderful chatting with you, Wisdom. Thank you so much.
That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.